Jared Knox had always said the belt was no place for heroes. It was a place for rusted ships, for long shifts inside cold metal hulls, and for people like him who worked themselves to exhaustion just to sell rock to corporations that never remembered their names. If you wanted comfort, you stayed on Earth. If you wanted adventure, you joined the Navy. If you wanted a hard, lonely living, you came out here. Jared had done that when he was 20. Now, 12 years later, he still wore the same patched flight suit, still ate tasteless ration bars, and still woke up each day inside a tiny mining ship called the Cinderhawk. It was another ordinary shift when the strange signal came, the distress call. Jared was pushing his ship's drill against an iron-rich rock when the comm crackled alive. Unknown vessel, under attack. Request assistance. Coordinates uploaded. The voice was smooth, melodic, not human. Jared blinked at the display. An alien out here? The belt wasn't a popular travel lane. It was dangerous, filled with rocks big enough to shatter a cruiser. Most ships avoided it. Whoever was calling had either been lost or very desperate. Jared should have ignored it. Everyone knew the rules. Miners weren't fighters. If you answered the wrong signal, you might end up dead or worse. But something about the voice made him pause. He checked the coordinates. A freighter, judging by its energy profile. 2 smaller ships attacking it, pirates. Human pirates. That hit a nerve, Jared muttered under his breath. Damn it. Can't just let them eat you alive. He yanked the drill free from the rock and powered the Cinderhawk toward the fight, outnumbered. The scene appeared through his viewport. A long, silver freighter weaving clumsily between asteroids, blue energy shields flickering under heavy fire. The attackers were lean, fast raiders, ships patched together from scrap but armed with serious weapons. Jared knew his little mining ship wasn't made for combat. He had one laser cutter, meant for breaking rock. He had a few stabilizer rockets. That was it. Against pirates, it was suicide. But pirates didn't expect miners to fight back. Jared slammed the thrusters and dove straight at one of the raiders. The pilot didn't even notice him until Jared lit the cutter. A searing line of red carved across the raider's hull. Sparks and fragments flew into the void. The raider spun wildly, engines sputtering. Jared pulled away just in time to avoid a missile. His ship rattled from the shockwave, alarm screaming in his ears. The second raider broke off from the freighter and came after him. Improvised. Heroics, Jared grinned through gritted teeth. Come on, then. He led the raider on a chase between tumbling rocks, pretending to flee. At the last second, he cut his engines and spun the Cinderhawk nose first toward a massive asteroid. The raider followed. Too fast, too confident. Jared fired his stabilizer rockets, shoving his ship upward. The raider slammed into the rock and exploded in a brilliant flash. The shockwave rattled the asteroid field. One left. The damaged raider limped toward the edge of the belt, engines sputtering. The pilot must have decided the freighter wasn't worth dying for. Within seconds, it vanished into the black. Jared's ship creaked and groaned. His hull temperature was spiking. One more hit and he would have been space dust. But somehow he was alive. So was the freighter. The alien ship had drifted closer, shields flickering weakly. For the first time, Jared saw its design clearly. It wasn't like any human ship. Its hull looked like flowing glass, glowing faintly with veins of silver light. A channel opened on his comm. The same melodic voice spoke. Human vessel, you saved us. Jared scratched his head. Well, someone had to. You were about 2 minutes from being space junk. The voice hesitated, then grew firm. Your courage is remarkable. We are the Lorani. Our people honor defenders of life. You will be remembered. Jared laughed awkwardly. Look, I didn't do it for a reward. I'm just a miner. I figured you might return the favor if I'm ever in trouble, that's all. The voice grew warm, almost ceremonial. It is more than that. You risked yourself for strangers. In our culture, such an act demands recognition. Prepare yourself, human Jared Knox. We will return to honor you properly. Before Jared could argue, the freighter's engines surged back to life. It turned gracefully, then leapt into faster-than-light travel, leaving him alone among the rocks. Jared leaned back in his chair. Great, I just wanted to thank you. Now I'm part of some alien ritual. Word spreads, by the time Jared limped the Cinderhawk back to Port Haven, the story had already traveled faster than he could. Miners swarmed him at the docking bay, clapping his back, asking 100 questions at once. You fought off raiders with a drill? An alien ship? You serious? They're coming back to reward you? Damn, Knox, maybe they'll give you one of those glowing space pets. Jared rolled his eyes. He had once joked that if he ever met aliens, he hoped they'd gift him something cute, a small creature to keep him company in the cold silence of the belt. Now everyone repeated the joke until it became the story itself. By the end of the night, the entire colony was buzzing. Jared Knox, the minor hero, was about to get an alien pet. The arrival a week later, every eye in Port Haven turned toward the sky. The alien freighter had returned, larger ships flanking it like guards. Their glowing hulls filled the void with shimmering light. For a moment, even the most hardened miners felt like children staring at magic. The colony's leaders gathered at the docking ring, Jared among them. His patched flight suit looked ridiculous next to their polished uniforms, but he had no time to worry. The Lurani airlock hissed open. From within stepped 3 tall figures, their skin pale silver, their hair flowing like strands of liquid metal. They moved with the grace of dancers. In the center walked someone different, smaller, shaped more like a human woman, yet glowing faintly with the same inner light. Her eyes, huge and luminous, locked onto Jared immediately. The tallest alien spoke in perfect translation. "Human Jared Knox, you defended us. According to the right of bonds, we present you with our greatest gift." The smaller figure stepped forward. She was beautiful, otherworldly, and she looked at Jared as if fate itself had tied them together. Gasps rippled through the human crowd. Jared's jaw dropped. "This," the alien declared, "is Siralith. She is now your bonded companion." Jared's mouth worked, but no sound came out. Finally, he managed, "I thought I was getting a pet." Jared Knox had never been the center of attention in his life. Now, everywhere he walked in Port Haven, people pointed, whispered, and laughed behind their hands. "The hero miner," someone muttered as he passed. "Wonder what he's feeding his alien bride," another joked. A group of children giggled, making kissing noises until their parents shushed them. Jared hunched his shoulders and walked faster. He hated it. All he had wanted was to finish his shift, sell his ore, and maybe enjoy a quiet drink. Instead, he had an alien woman following him through the colony like a shadow, her silver eyes watching every detail of human life with cool, curious patience. Her name was Siralith, and she was nothing like what he expected. A gift he didn't ask for. Back at his cramped quarters, Jared finally spun on her. "Look, this is insane. I thought your people were going to give me a reward. Something simple. A pet, a medal, maybe some credits, not you." Siralith tilted her head, her expression unreadable. "I am not a trinket human. I am bonded. By accepting me, you accepted responsibility. I didn't accept anything." Jared ran a hand through his messy hair. "I didn't even get a choice." Her luminous eyes narrowed slightly. "You had a choice when you acted. You risked your life to defend ours. That choice bound us. My people only honored the truth you created." Jared groaned and dropped onto the edge of his bunk. "I save one freighter and suddenly I'm married off to an alien diplomat. Great, just great." Siralith did not sit. She remained standing as if his small quarters were beneath her, though her voice softened a little. "You misunderstand. I'm not here as your mate. I am here as your equal. The bond is not ownership, it is partnership." Jared blinked at her. "So, you're saying you don't actually want to be here either?" She hesitated just long enough for him to notice. "It is not what I expected. But duty is duty, learning each other." The next days were chaos. Siralith followed him everywhere because to her people, separation between bonded was dishonor. She studied his ship, his tools, even the way he ate. She asked endless questions. "Why do you use such crude machines? They are wasteful. Why do humans poison their bodies with this alcohol? Why do your people live in such small, dirty places when you have a whole planet nearby?" Jared tried to be patient, but it was like living with a supervisor who never stopped judging him. "Look, not all of us can live in shiny space palaces, all right? We do the best we can." And yet, despite the arguments, there were moments that surprised him. One night, she asked, "Why do you keep a picture of a tree beside your bed?" Jared glanced at the old photo, his mother's garden back on Earth. "Because I haven't seen one in years. Out here there's no green, no soft ground, no smell of rain, just rock and metal. That picture reminds me of home." Siralith stared at the photo for a long time. Then she said quietly, "My people live surrounded by beauty. We have forests that glow under starlight. We never fear losing them, I think." Perhaps that is why we do not value them as you do." It was the first time she spoke without superiority in her voice. Jared didn't know how to answer. The colony reacts. The miners of Port Haven loved gossip, and Jared's situation was their favorite subject. At the mess hall, roughneck workers slapped his back and teased him. "Hey Knox, when's the wedding?" Others asked serious questions. "What are her people like? Are they coming here to trade? To fight?" Siralith, sitting beside him, answered calmly. "The Lorani seek balance, not war. We trade knowledge, not weapons." That only made people more curious. Soon she became the colony's unofficial guest of honor. Leaders invited her to meetings. Scientists asked endless questions, and merchants dreamed of new markets. Jared, meanwhile, felt like a spectator in his own life. The more people adored Siralith, the more trapped he felt. She was supposed to be his reward, but now the entire colony treated her as something greater, a symbol of hope. Arguments and frustrations. One evening, after another long day of questions and ceremonies, Jared snapped. "I never asked for any of this," he shouted, slamming a wrench onto his workbench. "You've taken over my life. Everyone thinks I'm some hero when all I wanted was to be left alone." Siralith, standing in the corner of his workshop, studied him with cool eyes. "You are angry because you cannot control what has happened. But life is not control, Jared Knox. It is adaptation. My people learned that long ago. That's easy for you to say. You're royalty or something. You've probably never had to worry about food running out or your ship falling apart." For once, her voice sharpened. "Do not assume my life was free of burden. I was bred for diplomacy. From birth, I was trained to sacrifice my will for my people's needs. I did not choose this bond either, human. Yet here I stand." Silence stretched between them. Jared saw the tightness in her jaw, the faint trembling of her hands. She wasn't just a perfect alien diplomat, she was trapped too. He sighed, rubbing his forehead. "All right, maybe we both got a raw deal, but if we're stuck together, we should at least try not to kill each other." Her lips curved in the smallest hint of a smile. "That is a reasonable plan." A hint of trouble life slowly adjusted. Jared worked the mines. Siralith studied the colony. They still argued, but sometimes those arguments ended in laughter. The distance between them shrank inch by inch, but the peace didn't last. One night, as Jared was checking the Cinderhawk's systems, Siralith entered with a serious expression. "I have received a message. From my people." Jared frowned. "Good news?" Her silver eyes darkened. "No, the pirates you fought, they were not acting alone. They were supplied by another empire, one that wishes to control this region. By saving us, you disrupted their plan. Now they watch you, and they will not forgive." Jared's stomach dropped. "You mean—" "I painted a target on my back. On your back. On this colony. On all humans." For a long moment, the hum of the ship was the only sound. Jared looked at Siralith, at the weight in her eyes, and realized the truth. This was far bigger than a miner's life. He had thought she was just a strange reward. Now he understood. She was a shield, a warning, and maybe the only ally humanity had in a galaxy that suddenly knew they existed. The belt had always been quiet. Not safe, never safe, but quiet. Jared Knox knew its rhythm. Miners drilling, merchants bargaining, pirates lurking in the shadows. Life went on day after day like the endless spin of asteroids. But ever since Siralith arrived, the rhythm was broken. Whispers of war at first. It was small things. Merchant ships reported seeing strange patrols near the trade lanes. Miners swore they picked up faint signals on long-range scanners. Even the pirate activity seemed sharper, better organized. The colony leaders called emergency meetings. Siralith was always invited. Jared wasn't, but she insisted on bringing him anyway. "You are my bond," she told him, her silver eyes steady. "Where I stand, you stand." He didn't like it. The council chamber felt too clean, too polished with its glowing displays and stern officials. Jared preferred the grease and dust of his workshop. Still, he sat in the back while Siralith explained the truth. "The raiders were supplied," she said in her calm, musical voice. "They are tools of the Dominion, a power that grows in the outer sectors. They test humanity now to see if you are weak." The governor frowned. "We've survived pirates for years. We can handle this." Siralith shook her head. "You misunderstand. Pirates are scavengers. The Dominion is an empire. They will not test you once. They will test you until you break." Jared saw the fear ripple across the room. These were tough men and women. People who had stared down starvation, radiation leaks, even pirate raids. But the word empire cut deeper than any weapon. Growing distance after that meeting, the colony changed. Patrols doubled. People carried weapons even inside the dome. Families whispered about leaving the belt for safer worlds. And Jared? He felt trapped. Everywhere he went, Saralith was there, explaining, warning, guiding. People looked at her as if she were their savior, the voice of reason in a storm. Jared should have been proud, but instead he felt invisible. One night he snapped. "You've got everyone eating out of your hand," he muttered while repairing a drill head. "They don't even listen to me anymore. I'm just the idiot miner who started all this." Saralith tilted her head. "Do you wish they feared you instead?" "That's not the point," Jared said. "The point is, I never wanted to be part of this. I just wanted to live my life. Now I've got a target on my back, and so does everyone I know." For once, Saralith didn't argue. She looked at him, her silver eyes softer than usual. "You think you are cursed. But to my people you are honored. Do you not see the difference?" Jared sighed, wiping grease from his hands. "I see trouble, that's what I see." The Dominion's message, the trouble, arrived sooner than expected. It came as a broadcast, hijacking every screen in the colony. A face appeared, pale, sharp, and cruel, with eyes like burning coals. Behind him stretched the banners of the Dominion. "People of the Belt," the voice boomed, cold and precise. "You shelter a fugitive of the Lorani. You harbor a human who has interfered with matters beyond his kind. This is not acceptable." Jared's stomach dropped. "They're talking about me," the voice continued. "Hand over the alien called Saralith and the miner Jared Knox. Do this and we will let your colony live. Refuse and you will burn." The broadcast ended. Silence followed. Then panic. The pressure builds. The colony leaders called another meeting. This time the room was louder, filled with shouting voices. "We can't fight the Dominion. They'll wipe us out. Give them what they want. One miner and his alien friend aren't worth the whole colony." Jared sat stiff in his chair, every eye burning into him. For the first time, he realized how small he was compared to the weight of the galaxy. Before he could speak, Saralith rose. Her voice cut through the noise. "If you hand us over, the Dominion will not stop. They will see your weakness and come again, and again, until nothing remains." The governor slammed a fist on the table. "And if we don't hand you over? We'll all die anyway." The room erupted in arguments. Jared felt like the walls were closing in. Jared's breaking point that night back in his quarters, Jared couldn't hold it in anymore. "This is insane, Saralith. They're right. You're not worth the whole colony. I'm not worth it. Maybe we should just go." Saralith turned to him, her silver eyes flashing. "And where would you go, Jared Knox? The Dominion's reach is vast. You cannot run from them. Then maybe you should go back to your people." He shot back. "You're their diplomat, not mine. Why are you even here, pretending this bond means something?" For the first time, Saralith's composure cracked. Her voice trembled as she answered. "Because if I leave, it proves them right. That humans are weak. That you cannot stand beside others as equals. If I go, they will see you as less than nothing." Jared froze. He had never seen her so raw, so vulnerable. "I did not choose this bond either," she whispered. "But now it is mine, and I will not let it be broken by fear." The attack, the Dominion, didn't wait for a decision. 2 weeks later, their ships appeared on the edge of the belt, sleek, black cruisers with weapons glowing red. They didn't fire at once. They circled like predators waiting for prey to panic. Inside Port Haven, alarms blared. Families crowded into shelters. Miners rushed to arm their ships, though everyone knew they were no match for war cruisers. Jared stood at the docking bay, staring at the Cinderhawk. His ship was a joke compared to the Dominion's machines, and yet it was all he had. Beside him, Saralith placed a hand on his arm. "You do not have to fight alone this time. Your people will follow if you lead." Jared gave a humorless laugh. "Me lead? I'm just a miner with a broken drill." Her grip tightened. "To them, you are more. You proved it once. You can prove it again." Rallying the miners, Jared didn't know how he found the words. Maybe it was desperation. Maybe it was Saralith's faith in him. But when he stood in front of the miners, something inside him clicked. "They want me," he said simply. "But if we give in, they'll come for more. They'll take our homes, our freedom, our lives. We can't outgun them, but we can outfight them." The miners listened, silent. "We know the belt better than anyone. Every rock, every tunnel, every hiding place. If we turn this colony into a trap, maybe, just maybe, we can survive. Slowly, nods spread through the crowd. Rough hands tightened into fists. Men and women who had lived their whole lives under threat of pirates found a spark of something new. Defiance. Preparing for war, the next days were a blur of work. Mining lasers were refitted into weapons. Cargo haulers were turned into decoys. Old half-broken drones were reprogrammed to act as suicide mines. Jared led the efforts, Sarilith always at his side. She offered strategy, teaching them how to think like the Dominion. Jared offered grit, showing them how to fight with nothing but stubbornness and scrap metal. For the first time, they weren't just arguing. They were partners. The eve of battle on. The night before the attack, Jared sat outside the dome, his helmet visor open to the stars. Sarilith joined him, her silver hair glowing in the starlight. "You know we might die tomorrow," he said quietly. "Yes," she replied, "but if we die, it will be with dignity. And if we live, then perhaps the galaxy will finally see humanity's strength." Jared chuckled. "You talk like this was all part of some plan." She looked at him, serious. "Perhaps it was." Jared Knox had faced danger before. Broken drills, collapsing tunnels, pirate attacks. They were all part of life in the belt. But nothing had prepared him for the sight that now hung in the sky above Port Haven. The Dominion ships loomed like black mountains in space, their red weapons glowing ominously. Each cruiser was larger than anything the miners had ever seen. The colony's defenses, rigged together from scrap metal, cargo haulers, and improvised weapons, looked pitiful in comparison. Beside him, Sarilith stood calm, as if the odds did not concern her. But Jared could feel her tension in the set of her shoulders, in the way her silver eyes scanned the horizon. "This is it," she said softly. "You and your people will either survive or die tonight, and I will be beside you, as is the bond." Jared swallowed hard. "I never asked for this. I'm just a miner," she smiled faintly. "A miner saved my life once. A miner can save it again." The first strike without warning, the largest Dominion cruiser fired. A red beam cut through the asteroid field, slicing the outer walls of the colony like paper. Alarms screamed. Dust, debris, and the smell of ozone filled the air. Miners scrambled to their ships. Families ran to shelters. The Dominion's smaller fighter craft swooped down, aiming for every weak point. Jared climbed into the cockpit of the Cinderhawk, his heart pounding. His ship was small, fragile, barely armed. But it was his, and he had no choice but to fight. Sarilith joined him in the cockpit, her calm presence a stark contrast to his racing heartbeat. "We will need to work together," she said. "Follow my lead and your instincts. Both will serve you." Jared gripped the controls. "Lead the way, boss." Improvised warfare. The battle began. The miners' ships darted between asteroids, using the terrain for cover. Cargo haulers released makeshift mines, detonating near Dominion fighters and sending them spinning into the void. Jared wove the Cinderhawk through the chaos, dodging beams of red light and debris. "Left! Left, now!" Sarilith shouted. Her voice, though melodic, was sharp and commanding. Jared followed her directions instinctively, relying on her tactical mind to guide them. A Dominion fighter appeared out of nowhere, aiming directly at the Cinderhawk. Jared fired his laser cutter, barely grazing the enemy's hull. The ship exploded in a shower of sparks. Sarilith leaned closer. "You have courage, human. But courage alone will not win this battle. Strategy and instinct must work together." Jared nodded, feeling a strange bond forming. Together, they were more than just a miner and a diplomat. They were a team, humanity's advantage. The Dominion fighters were faster, stronger, and better armed. But they had one weakness. They underestimated humans. Jared realized it as he maneuvered through a cluster of asteroids. The Dominion ships flew in perfect formation, relying on sensors and algorithms. Humans, however, were unpredictable. Miners darted unpredictably, using instinct, chance, and stubbornness to survive. The Dominion ships crashed into each other, unable to anticipate the erratic movements. One by one, fighters were destroyed or disabled. Sarilith's eyes shone. "Your people are remarkable. Imperfect, yes, but adaptable. That is your strength." Jared smiled grimly. "Yeah, we don't quit. Not easily." The heart of the battle. The Dominion flagship advanced, a massive ship bristling with weapons. The colony's improvised defenses could not stop it. Jared knew that if it reached the main dome, the entire colony would be destroyed. Sarilith leaned over the controls. We need to strike at the engines. They are vulnerable. Jared swallowed. How? They're huge. Precision. You have the instinct. I have the knowledge. Together we can do it. He nodded. Together. The word gave him strength. They darted into the heart of the fleet, dodging fire, weaving between asteroids. Sarilith guided him with exact instructions, predicting the enemy's moves. Jared acted instinctively, trusting her guidance, his hands steady despite the chaos. A red beam sliced past the Cinderhawk, scorching metal and leaving sparks in its wake. Jared gritted his teeth. Almost there! Risk and sacrifice. The flagship's engines glowed like molten fire. One precise hit and the entire ship would be disabled. Jared fired the Cinderhawk's laser cutter, hitting the hull just above the main engine. Sparks flew. The ship shuddered violently. Again, Sarilith shouted. Jared fired another shot, cutting deeper. The engine roared, then sputtered. Smoke and fire poured from the engines. The flagship slowed, losing control. Dominion fighters swarmed around it, but the humans' improvisation and Sarilith's guidance kept them alive. Then, a massive beam struck the Cinderhawk. Alarms blared. The ship spun, heading for an asteroid. Jared fought the controls, panic rising. Sarilith grabbed his arm. Trust me, she said. You will not fail. With her guidance, he pulled the ship just in time, dodging the asteroid. They were battered but alive. Victory and reflection. The Dominion flagship, damaged and confused, began to retreat. Smaller fighters followed, abandoning the attack. The miners cheered as the Dominion ships disappeared into the void. Jared and Sarilith floated above the belt, exhausted, their ship smoking and scarred. You did well, she said quietly. Your people fought bravely, and you led them with courage. Jared shook his head. I didn't do it alone. You were with me every step. Her silver eyes softened. Then the bond has been proven. Not as a gift, not as a reward, but as partnership. Together, humans and Lurani can face more than any empire dares imagine. He looked out at the stars, still trembling from the battle. You know, I thought you were going to be a pain in the neck. Turns out, you might just be the smartest partner I've ever had. Sarilith's lips curved into the faintest smile. And you, human, are more than I expected. Perhaps this bond was meant to be tested. Aftermath, the colony celebrated cautiously. Many lives had been lost, ships destroyed, but the heart of Port Haven remained intact. Miners, once simple laborers, were now heroes in their own right. They had defended their home, proving to themselves and the galaxy that humans were not to be underestimated. Jared sat with Sarilith, sipping recycled water. He looked around at the miners laughing, sharing stories of bravery, and realized something profound. Survival was more than skill or firepower. It was determination, stubbornness, and the refusal to quit, human qualities that no empire could erase. Sarilith studied him. Your people's spirit? It is unyielding, imperfect yet extraordinary. I see now why the Lurani honored your actions, and I see why this bond will endure. Jared shrugged, a small smile on his face. Guess I always knew humans were special. Just didn't think anyone else would notice. She reached out, lightly touching his arm. The galaxy has noticed now, and it will not forget. For the first time since she arrived, Jared felt hope. Not because the battle was won, but because together, he and Sarilith, humans, could face anything. The belt was quiet again, but it was not the same. Port Haven had survived the Dominion attack, but the memory of fire and destruction lingered in every street, every ship, every miner's heart. The colony had been tested, and though battered, it had survived. Humans had proved their stubbornness, their courage, and their ability to fight when the odds were impossible. Jared Knox stood on a rocky overlook, staring at the stars. The debris of the Dominion ships floated like dark ghosts in the void. His hands were still shaking from the battle, his lungs heavy from the adrenaline, but he felt a strange calm. Sarilith appeared beside him, her silver eyes reflecting starlight. She had a calm authority now, tempered by the bond they had forged in battle. You look like a man who has seen the universe, she said softly. Jared laughed bitterly. More like I've survived a nightmare. And somehow, we're still alive, Sarilith nodded. You and your people have more than survived. You have proven that humanity is extraordinary. Your stubbornness, your courage, your unpredictability. It is the gift of your species. The galaxy will take notice. Jared snorted. Yeah, I doubt the galaxy even knew we existed before all this mess. She smiled faintly. Now they do, and they will remember. The aftermath, the colony was busy rebuilding. Damaged ships were repaired, tunnels reinforced, and new defense systems installed. Miners who had never held a weapon now shared stories of heroism. Children who had hidden in shelters watched the stars at night, dreaming of the humans who had stood against an empire. Jared moved among them, offering guidance, helping wherever he could. For the first time, he understood the impact of his actions. He had always thought himself insignificant, a simple miner, scraping by, but now he saw how one person, one choice, could change everything. Siralith stayed close, advising him, observing the colony's recovery. She had earned the miners' respect not only as an alien diplomat but as a partner to Jared. Together, they had turned fear into determination, chaos into a strategy that worked. And yet, Jared still felt the weight of responsibility. All this, he muttered one evening as he watched miners working under the fading light of the belt. All this because I did the right thing. Once, Siralith's hand rested lightly on his arm. Yes, but that choice to find more than you know. Your courage inspired not just your people, but every life that watches the stars now. The galaxy will not forget. The first signs of change months passed. Port Haven became more than just a mining colony. It became a symbol. Traders from other sectors brought stories of the miner who had stood against the Dominion, and of the alien diplomat who had chosen to bond with him. Scientists visited, curious to study the humans' ingenuity and resourcefulness. Even the Lorani sent envoys. They arrived quietly, observing Jared and the colony, assessing the humans' adaptability, their resilience. One evening, an ambassador approached Jared and Siralith. Your species is remarkable, the alien said, voice formal. We have underestimated humans for too long. Now we see the truth. You are survivors, strategists, and warriors when circumstance demands it. Jared laughed, scratching the back of his head. We just do what we have to. Nothing more. Siralith tilted her head. Nothing more, perhaps. But sometimes that is everything. Jared looked at her, realizing that she was right. Humanity's strength was not in technology, not in fleets or numbers. It was in their stubborn hearts, in their refusal to give up when all seemed lost. A new threat, a new opportunity, but peace never lasts in the galaxy. One morning, scouts reported a small fleet approaching the belt. Unlike the Dominion, these ships were sleek, shiny, and diplomatic in appearance. Jared frowned. Who are they? Siralith's eyes narrowed. They are not enemies, but they are observers. Perhaps they wish to test the humans to see if the tales of their resilience are true. Jared laughed nervously. Great. We survived one empire, now we get another audience. An audience can be as dangerous as an army, Siralith warned. But it is also an opportunity. We can choose to show them our strength or be underestimated. Jared nodded slowly. He understood now. Humanity didn't need to conquer to be respected. They needed to survive, to endure, to show the universe that they were more than ordinary. The alliance formed. The fleet arrived, and the humans prepared to receive them. Jared and Siralith stood together at the command center, facing the alien delegation. You are humans, one alien began, voice measured. Your people fought an empire with limited technology, improvised weapons, and sheer will. You survived where others would have fallen. Why? Jared looked around at the miners working tirelessly, at the families who refused to flee, at the colony that had endured unimaginable stress. And he smiled. Because we don't quit, he said simply. We get up when we fall. We fight when we have no reason to, and we care for each other. That's why humans survive. Siralith stepped forward, her voice calm and commanding. And because humans have allies willing to stand beside them. You may see a simple miner and a diplomat, but together, they represent what humanity brings to the stars. Courage, ingenuity, and the refusal to surrender. The delegation was silent for a moment, then nodded. Then perhaps an alliance is warranted. The galaxy may yet learn from humans. And just like that, Port Haven was no longer just a mining colony. It became a beacon, a bridge between species, a symbol of what humans could achieve. A personal victory later. When the delegation left, Jared and Siralith walked among the miners. Children ran up asking questions, hoping for stories of heroism. Miners patted him on the back, laughing, joking, grateful. Jared turned to Sarilith. You know, I thought you were going to be a pain in the neck. Turns out, you were the best partner I could ask for. Sarilith's silver eyes softened. And you, human, are more than I expected. You are brave, stubborn, and clever. You have proven that humanity is extraordinary, Jared chuckled. Guess we make a good team, she smiled faintly. Perhaps the galaxy will see it too. Looking to the future, the belt remained quiet once more, but Jared knew it would never be the same. Humans had been tested and they had passed. Their stubbornness, courage, and ingenuity had turned a simple mining colony into a symbol of hope. Jared looked at Sarilith and then at the stars stretching endlessly before them. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers and challenges, but also full of possibilities. With Sarilith at his side, he knew humanity could face whatever came next. Not because they were perfect, not because they had the strongest ships, but because they never gave up. And you know, he said with a grin, I still wanted a pet, but I guess this is better. Sarilith laughed softly, the sound like music in the quiet night. Much better, human. Jared Knox, the miner who never wanted to be a hero, had become something greater. He had earned the respect of the galaxy, forged an unbreakable bond, and proven that humans, imperfect, stubborn, and determined, were a force no one could ignore.